The lie started on a Tuesday morning at 7:15. I put on my navy suit, the one Sarah said made me look distinguished, knotted my tie the way I'd done for 16 years, grabbed my laptop bag, and kissed my wife goodbye at the kitchen counter. "Big day?" she asked, pouring coffee into my travel mug. "Just the usual," I said. "Quarterly review meeting at 10. Should be home by 6. She smiled and handed me the mug. Our daughter Emma was upstairs getting ready for school. Our son Josh was eating cereal at the table, barely looking up from his phone. A normal Tuesday morning in our suburban Chicago home. Except for one detail. I didn't have a job to go to. I'd been laid off 3 weeks earlier, and I hadn't told anyone. My name is Michael Chen. I'm 42 years old, and for the past 16 years, I was an IT project manager at Innovatech Solutions, a mid-sized tech consulting firm downtown. Good salary, $137,000 a year, solid benefits, respected position. I'd climbed from entry-level developer to senior management. I was the guy people came to when projects were failing. I was reliable, valuable, essential. Until I wasn't. October 18th, 2022. That was the day my boss Linda called me into the conference room at 4:30 in the afternoon. The HR director was there too, which meant this wasn't about a project. My stomach dropped before anyone said a word. "Michael, I'm going to be direct," Linda said. She wouldn't make eye contact. "The company is restructuring. We're eliminating several mid-level management positions to streamline operations. Your role is being eliminated effective immediately. Eliminated. Not fired for performance. Not let go because I did something wrong. Just eliminated, like I was a line item in a budget spreadsheet that no longer added up. We're offering a severance package," the HR director continued, sliding papers across the table. 12 weeks of pay, continuation of health benefits through the end of the year, and outplacement services to help with your job search. We'll need you to sign these documents and clear out your workspace today. Today. 16 years, and I had 2 hours to pack up my office and leave. I signed the papers in a daze. They walked me back to my office where I filled a cardboard box with personal items while a security guard waited nearby. Photos of Sarah and the kids. A mug Emma had made me for Father's Day that said "World's Best Dad." An award plaque from a successful project 3 years ago. 16 years reduced to one cardboard box. The worst part was walking out past my team. People I'd worked with for years, managed, mentored. They didn't know what to say. Some offered sympathetic looks. Others pretended to be focused on their screens. Everyone knew that if it could happen to me, it could happen to them. I drove home that day planning to tell Sarah everything. We'd figure it out together, I told myself. She was my partner. We'd been married for 17 years. We'd gotten through tough times before. But when I walked in at 6:30, earlier than usual, Sarah was in the kitchen making dinner and complaining about the new principal at her school. Emma was stressed about a history project due Friday. Josh needed help with his math homework. The house was alive with normal problems, normal stress, normal life. And I couldn't bring myself to add to it. "How was work?" Sarah asked, stirring pasta sauce. "Fine," I said. Left a bit early to beat traffic. The lie came out so easily, so naturally. And once I'd told it, the next lie became easier. The severance package was 12 weeks of pay, which would give me just over 3 months of my regular salary. That seemed like enough time to find something new. I'd never been unemployed before. I had experience, connections, a solid resume. Surely I'd have a new job within a month or two. I didn't need to worry Sarah unnecessarily. That was my thinking anyway. That was the rationalization. The next morning, I went through my normal routine. Shower, suit, tie, coffee, kiss Sarah goodbye. But instead of driving downtown to Innovatech, I drove to the public library 3 towns over where nobody would recognize me. I set up at a table in the quiet section, opened my laptop, and started applying for jobs. The first week, I was optimistic. I applied to 37 positions, updated my LinkedIn profile, reached out to former colleagues and industry contacts. I had the severance pay depositing into our joint checking account just like my regular salary, so nothing looked different to Sarah. The routine at home stayed the same. By week 2, I'd applied to 78 jobs total. I'd gotten 3 responses. 2 were automated rejections. 1 was a phone screening that went nowhere after the recruiter learned my age. 42 wasn't old in most contexts, but in tech, especially in IT project management, companies wanted younger people who'd work for less money and wouldn't question overtime expectations. Week 3, I started expanding my search beyond Chicago. I applied to remote positions, jobs in other cities, roles slightly below my experience level. I was applying to everything that was even remotely relevant. My optimism was fading, replaced by a low-grade anxiety that sat in my chest constantly. That's when the morning routine of pretending to go to work became harder. I'd sit in my car in the library parking lot some mornings, staring at my phone, trying to summon the energy to walk inside and face another day of applications and rejections. But I couldn't stay home. Sarah was there on her planning days. The kids came home at 3. I needed somewhere to be. November arrived. Thanksgiving was 3 weeks away. I'd been secretly unemployed for 5 weeks. My severance would run out in 7 more weeks, right after New Year's. I'd applied to 142 jobs. I'd had 6 phone interviews. 2 had led to video interviews. None had led to offers. Sarah started planning Thanksgiving dinner. We were hosting her parents and my brother's family. 12 people total. She talked about the menu, the shopping list, the expense. I smiled and nodded and said it would be fine, even though I was calculating in my head how much the dinner would cost and how much longer the severance would last. Our savings account had $32,000. Our emergency fund. It was supposed to be for actual emergencies, not for pretending I still had a job. The mortgage was $3,100 a month. Car payments, utilities, groceries, insurance, Emma's braces, Josh's soccer league, Sarah's student loan payment from her master's degree. Our monthly expenses were around $7,500. When the severance ran out in January, we'd be burning through savings at $7,500 a month. The $32,000 would last 4 months. Maybe 5 if we were careful. But being careful would require explaining why we needed to be careful, which would require telling the truth. December brought the holiday season. Sarah loved Christmas. She decorated the house the weekend after Thanksgiving, putting up 3 different trees and lights in every window. She bought gifts for the kids, for her parents, for my family, for her teacher colleagues. She talked about our tradition of driving downtown to see the lights at Millennium Park and having dinner at our favorite Italian restaurant. I made a spreadsheet on my phone that I'd check obsessively. Income 0. Severance ending January 15th. Savings $32,000 minus Christmas expenses, minus January mortgage, minus January expenses equals $21,800 left. At $7,500 a month, 3 months until 0. Maybe I could find something by April. Maybe. The guilt was becoming physical. I'd wake up at 3 a.m. with my heart racing, thinking about the money disappearing, the jobs I hadn't gotten, the lie I was living. Sarah would be sleeping beside me, completely unaware that our financial security was evaporating while I pretended everything was fine. I'd gotten good at the performance. Every morning, I'd leave in a suit. I'd spend 8 hours at the library, occasionally moving to a Starbucks or a different library if I needed a change of scenery. I'd apply for jobs, take phone interviews from my car, practice interview answers out loud in empty parking lots. Then I'd come home at 6, and Sarah would ask about my day. I'd learned to fabricate details, made up meetings I'd supposedly attended, created fictional problems with fictional coworkers, referenced projects that didn't exist. The lies built on each other, creating a complete alternate reality where I was still employed, still valuable, still the reliable provider I'd always been. "How's the Henderson project going?" Sarah asked one night in mid-December. "Still dealing with scope creep," I said, using real terminology from my old job. Client keeps adding requirements without adjusting the timeline. Classic. She nodded sympathetically. Sounds stressful, but they're lucky to have you managing it. The Henderson project didn't exist. I'd made it up 3 weeks earlier and had been updating her on its fictional progress ever since. Every lie required remembering previous lies, keeping the story consistent, building the deception deeper. Christmas morning, I watched Emma and Josh open presents that Sarah had bought with money from our dwindling savings. I smiled and took photos and played the role of happy dad while internally calculating that we'd just spent $900 on gifts alone. $900 we didn't have coming in. $900 closer to zero. Best Christmas ever, Josh said, hugging his new gaming system. Sarah squeezed my hand. We're so blessed, she whispered. I felt like I was going to throw up. January 2nd, I received my final severance payment. The direct deposit hit our account, and I stared at the bank app on my phone, knowing it was the last time I'd see that number deposit. From tomorrow forward, our income was Sarah's teaching salary of $52,000 a year, $41,000 after taxes, $3,400 a month. Our expenses were $7,500. We were now going negative by $4,100 every single month. I'd applied to 207 jobs since October. I'd had 11 phone interviews, 4 video interviews, and 1 in-person interview that I'd lied about, telling Sarah I was going to a training conference. That final interview had gone well. Really well. But they'd called 2 days later to say they'd gone with another candidate. Younger, I assumed. Cheaper. The library became my office, my refuge, my prison. I knew the staff by name now. Recognized other regular patrons. There was a man in his 50s who was there every day, also in business casual, also on a laptop. We never spoke, but I wondered if he was doing the same thing. Pretending to have somewhere to be, hiding from the people who depended on him. Mid-January, Sarah's car started making a noise. A grinding sound from the brakes that clearly needed attention. She mentioned it at dinner. I'll take it to the shop this weekend, I said. Probably just needs new brake pads. The shop called with an estimate. $1,200. The brake pads had damaged the rotors. It needed more work than expected. I sat in my car in the library parking lot, staring at the estimate on my phone. We had $17,000 left in savings. Every unexpected expense was catastrophic now. I approved the repair. Told Sarah it was $300. Added lying about car repairs to my growing list of deceptions. That night, I calculated again. Income, $3,400. Expenses, $7,500. Deficit, $4,100 monthly. Savings, $17,000, minus January expenses, minus car repair, equals $11,400 remaining. At current burn rate, savings depleted by April 15th. Then what? Credit cards? How long could I hide that? I started applying for jobs I was overqualified for. Positions that paid $60,000, $50,000, even $45,000. I didn't care about the pay cut anymore. I just needed income before the money ran out and the truth became impossible to hide. February brought Emma's 14th birthday. Sarah planned a party with Emma's friends at an escape room place. Pizza, cake, decorations. $450. I smiled through it, took photos, acted like everything was normal while internally screaming. Our savings dropped below $10,000. Single digits. We'd burned through $22,000 in 4 months while I pretended to have a job. Then came the moment I'd been dreading. Late February, Sarah sat me down at the kitchen table after the kids went to bed. She had our laptop open, and I could see bank statements on the screen. My heart stopped. This was it. She'd figured it out. The lie was ending. "Michael, we need to talk about our finances," she said, her tone serious. "Okay," I managed to say, my voice barely steady. "I was looking at our accounts, and I'm worried about how much we're spending. Christmas was expensive, And with Emma's birthday and Josh's soccer tournament fees coming up, I think we need to be more careful with our budget. Maybe cut back on eating out and unnecessary purchases. She didn't know. She still didn't know. She thought we were just spending too much, not that we had zero income. You're right, I said, relief and guilt flooding through me simultaneously. We should definitely be more mindful. I'm glad you agree, she said, closing the laptop. I know money is tight right now with the economy and everything, but we're doing okay, right? Your job is stable? She was looking at me with complete trust. 17 years of marriage, and she had no reason to doubt me. I'd always been reliable, always been honest, always been the stable one. Yeah, I said, the lie burning my throat. Job's fine. But you're right about the budget. We'll be more careful. She kissed me and went upstairs. I sat at that kitchen table for an hour, staring at nothing, wondering how I'd gotten here, how I'd let it go this far, how I was going to fix this before everything collapsed. March 1st, our savings account hit $7,200. I'd been unemployed for over 4 months, applied to 273 jobs. The market had gotten worse. More layoffs across the tech industry meant more experienced people competing for fewer positions. I was getting automated rejections sometimes within hours of applying. I started looking at jobs completely outside my field: retail management, operations roles, administrative positions, anything with a salary and benefits. My 16 years of experience in IT project management was becoming a liability. Every interviewer's unspoken question: why would someone at your level want this job? What's wrong with you that you can't find something better? The morning routine had become automated. Suit, tie, coffee, goodbye kiss, drive to the library. Except some days, I couldn't make myself get out of the car. I'd sit in the parking lot, paralyzed by the futility of it all. Another day of applications, another day of silence or rejections, another day pretending to have purpose while bleeding money we didn't have. Mid-March, Josh came home with a permission slip for a school trip to Washington, D.C. in May. $380. Can I go, Dad? He asked excitedly. Everyone in my class is going. It'll be so cool. I looked at Sarah. She was looking at me, waiting for my response. Emma was at the table doing homework, also waiting. A normal family moment about a normal school trip. Of course you can go, I heard myself say. It's a great opportunity. Josh hugged me, thrilled. Sarah smiled. Emma went back to her homework. Another $380 we didn't have. Another piece of the lie. That night, I calculated again. Savings, $6,800. Income, $3,400. Expenses, $7,500. We'd hit zero in 6 weeks. Maybe 7. Then what? The credit cards? We had $18,000 in available credit across 3 cards. That would buy another 2 months. Then what? The panic attack started in late March. I'd be sitting at the library, and suddenly I couldn't breathe. My chest would tighten, my vision would narrow, my heart would race. I'd have to go outside and walk around the building, taking deep breaths, trying to calm down. I was 42 years old, pretending to have a job I'd lost 5 months ago, watching our financial security disintegrate, while my family trusted me completely. The weight of the secret was crushing me. April 3rd, I got an interview. A real one, in person, for a project manager role at a manufacturing company. The pay was only $95,000, a $42,000 pay cut from my old job, but I didn't care. I needed income. I needed to stop the bleeding. I told Sarah I had an off-site meeting with a vendor. Drove to the company, nailed the interview. They liked me, I could tell. The VP said they'd be making a decision within a week. I drove back to the library and allowed myself to hope for the first time in months. Maybe this was it. Maybe I could still fix this before the truth came out. Get the job. Tell Sarah about a restructuring at my company that led to my new position. Explain we'd need to adjust our lifestyle to the lower salary, but keep the core lie intact. Keep the secret. The job offer call came 5 days later. They wanted me to start May 1st. Salary $95,000. Benefits started day one. It was happening. I was saved. There's just one thing, the HR manager said. We need to verify employment history. Can you provide contact information for your supervisor at Innovatech Solutions? My blood went cold. Employment verification. They'd call Linda. They'd learn I'd been laid off 6 months ago, not currently employed. The gap in my resume I'd tried to hide would be exposed. Not to Sarah, to my potential new employer. Of course, I said, my voice steady even as panic filled my chest. I'll send that over today. I hung up and sat in my car, hands shaking. This was it. The moment where everything would unravel. They'd call Innovatech, learn the truth, rescind the offer, and I'd be back to zero, except now we'd be down to $2,000 in savings, with zero prospects and a lie that had lasted 6 months. I stared at my phone, at the photo of Sarah and the kids on my home screen. My family. The people who trusted me, who believed in me, who had no idea that I'd been lying to them every single day for half a year. And then my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Michael Chen? A woman's voice asked. Speaking. My name is Diana Rodriguez. I'm the founder of a consulting firm specializing in project recovery and organizational transformation. Your name came up in a conversation I had with a former colleague of yours, Tom Williams. He said you were the best project manager he'd ever worked with. I know this is unexpected, but I'm wondering if you might be interested in having a conversation about a potential opportunity. I sat in my car in the library parking lot, phone pressed to my ear, trying to process what Diana Rodriguez was saying. Tom spoke very highly of you, she continued. He mentioned you'd successfully rescued 3 major projects that were headed for disaster. That's exactly the expertise we need. We're a small firm, but we work with Fortune 500 companies on their most challenging initiatives. Would you be available to meet this week? My mind was racing. Tom Williams had been a senior vice president at Innovatech before he left 2 years ago. I'd worked on several projects under his leadership. He must not have known about my layoff. Or maybe he did and was giving me a lifeline. I'd be very interested, I said, trying to keep my voice professional while my heart was pounding. What kind of role are you considering? Senior consulting partner. Project-based work, but with the potential for it to become permanent. The compensation would be competitive with your current position, possibly better depending on the projects. But I'd like to discuss the details in person. Are you available tomorrow? Say, 2 o'clock at our office in the Loop? Tomorrow. The same day the manufacturing company would likely be calling Innovatech for employment verification. I was standing at a crossroads with 2 potential opportunities and 1 massive lie threatening to destroy both. Tomorrow works, I said. I'll be there. She gave me the address and hung up. I sat there for a long moment, staring at my phone. 2 job possibilities. One required employment verification that would expose my 6-month gap. The other was from someone who thought I was currently employed. Both opportunities built on different versions of the truth. The panic attack hit hard this time. I couldn't breathe. The parking lot seemed to tilt. I got out of the car and walked, trying to force air into my lungs, trying to think clearly through the fog of anxiety. I needed to make a decision. Call the manufacturing company and withdraw my application before they did the verification. Or be honest with Diana tomorrow about my situation. Or keep lying and hope it all somehow worked out. I drove home that evening in a daze. Sarah was making dinner. Emma was on the couch video chatting with friends. Josh was playing video games in the living room. Normal life, continuing normally, while I was drowning in secrets. "How was your day?" Sarah asked as I walked in. The question she asked every single day. The question I'd been lying to for 6 months. "Fine," I said. Just the usual. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay next to Sarah, listening to her breathe, thinking about tomorrow's meeting with Diana, thinking about the employment verification, thinking about our bank account with less than $2,000, thinking about how I'd let it get this far. At 3 a.m., I got up and went downstairs, opened the laptop, and looked at our finances. Checking account, $1,873. Savings, zero. I'd transferred the last of it to checking last week to cover the mortgage. Credit cards. I pulled up the accounts. We had 3 cards with a combined available credit of $18,000. I could start using those to cover expenses. Buy another 2 months maybe. But Sarah checked our credit card statements. She'd noticed charges. I'd have to hide those too. The lies were multiplying, each deception requiring 3 more to maintain it. I went to the meeting with Diana the next day. Her office was in a sleek building downtown, nothing huge but clearly successful. She was in her early 50s, professional and direct. We talked for 2 hours. She explained her business model. Companies would hire her firm when major projects were failing. They'd bring in consultants like me to assess the situation, restructure the approach, and get things back on track. Project-based work with intensive periods followed by downtime. The pay structure was interesting. Lower base salary of $70,000, but significant project bonuses that could push total compensation to $120,000 or more. The work is demanding, Diana said. You're often walking into hostile situations where people have been working for months on something that's failing. You need thick skin and the ability to make unpopular decisions quickly. That's essentially what I did at Innovatech, I said, which was true. I specialized in project recovery. Tom mentioned that. He also said you were laid off 6 months ago and have been struggling to find something that matches your skill set. My stomach dropped. She knew. Tom had known and told her. I started, then stopped. The lie was right there, ready. I could spin this. Say it had been a mutual decision, or a reorganization, or anything but the truth. But I was so tired of lying. Yes, I said quietly. I was laid off in October. I've been looking since then. The market has been difficult. Diana nodded. Tom figured you might not have mentioned it. He said knowing you, you'd probably been trying to handle it yourself rather than ask for help. That's why he called me. He thought you'd be perfect for this work, but might be too proud to reach out. I felt something crack inside my chest. Tom had known, had tried to help, had understood what I was going through. I haven't told my family, I said, the words coming out before I could stop them. They think I'm still employed. I've been pretending to go to work for 6 months. Diana's expression didn't change. She just listened. I kept thinking I'd find something quickly, I continued, and suddenly I couldn't stop talking. I had severance for 12 weeks. That seemed like enough time. But the market was worse than I expected, and I'm 42, which is apparently too old in tech, and we have a mortgage and 2 kids, and my wife is a teacher, and I'm supposed to be the stable one, the provider, and I just couldn't tell them that I'd failed. I stopped, horrified that I'd just confessed everything to a potential employer. Diana was going to think I was unstable, desperate, a terrible hire. Michael, she said gently, you didn't fail. The company failed you. And the fact that you've been dealing with this alone for 6 months tells me you're exactly the kind of person who can handle the pressure of the work I'm describing. But you need to tell your family. Not just because they deserve to know, but because you're carrying weight that's going to crush you if you don't share it. I can't, I said. We're almost out of money. If I tell Sarah now, after hiding it for 6 months, she'll never trust me again. The kids will see me differently. I need to fix this first, then I can explain. Diana was quiet for a moment. I'm going to offer you a position, she finally said. We have a project starting in 2 weeks that's perfect for your background. 3-month engagement, high-pressure turnaround situation. If you succeed, you'll earn $28,000 in bonus on top of your base salary for that quarter. That's close to $50,000 for 3 months of work. $50,000. Enough to refill our savings. Enough to breathe again. But I need you to do something first, Diana continued. Before you accept this job, You need to tell your wife the truth. All of it. Because if you come work for me while still lying to your family, you're going to burn out within a month. The stress will destroy you and the work quality. I've seen it happen. What if she leaves me? I asked, voicing the fear I'd been carrying for 6 months. What if she doesn't? Diana replied. What if she's stronger than you're giving her credit for? What if your kids are more resilient than you think? You've been protecting them from truth, but you've also been depriving them of the chance to support you. I left that meeting with a job offer contingent on telling the truth. The irony wasn't lost on me. I called the manufacturing company that afternoon and withdrew my application. Told them I'd accepted another position. They were professional about it, probably relieved they didn't have to do the employment verification. Now I just had to tell Sarah. I planned to do it that evening. Came home, waited for the kids to finish dinner, and go upstairs. Asked Sarah if we could talk. Sat down at the kitchen table, where we'd had 1,000 conversations over 17 years. And I couldn't do it. The words wouldn't come. I looked at her face, open and trusting, and I couldn't destroy that. Not yet. What's up? She asked. I just wanted to say I love you, I said, coward that I was. She smiled and kissed me. I love you too. Is everything okay? You seem stressed lately. Just work stuff, I lied. Again. It'll be fine. That night, our credit card statement came. Sarah opened it while I was in the shower. When I came downstairs, she was at the kitchen table with the laptop open, staring at the screen with a confused expression. Michael, did you use the Visa card to pay for car repairs? There's a charge here for $900 to Mike's auto shop. My mind raced. I'd told her the brake repairs were $300. I'd put the full $1,200 on the credit card. She was looking at one of the charges I'd been hiding. Yeah, I said, trying to sound casual. There was additional work they found once they got into it. I meant to mention it, but forgot. $900 in additional work? That seems like a lot. Did they call you about it before they did it? She wasn't suspicious yet, just confused. But this was how it would start. One question leading to another, the lies unraveling thread by thread. They did, I said. I approved it. Probably should have discussed it with you first, sorry. Sarah closed the laptop. It's fine. I just wish we'd budgeted for it. Money's been tight lately and I don't know why. We're not spending more than usual, but the savings account. We'll be more careful, I said, which was what I always said. She went to bed. I stayed downstairs, shaking, realizing how close I'd just come to everything collapsing. And it was only going to get worse. The credit card charges would multiply. The questions would get harder to answer. The lie was becoming impossible to maintain. April 15th, tax day. Sarah mentioned we should file soon, asked if I had my W-2 from work. Of course I didn't have a W-2 because I'd only worked 10.5 months of the previous year, but I'd received a 1099 for my severance. I'll grab it from my office, I said. We can file this weekend. Another lie. Another problem to solve later. That weekend, Josh's school trip permission slip was due. $380. Sarah wrote the check from our joint account. I watched the balance drop to $1,423. We had one more week until the mortgage was due. $3,100. We didn't have it. I transferred $5,000 from our credit card to checking. A cash advance at 29% interest. Sarah didn't check the accounts daily, so I had maybe a week before she noticed the transfer. The walls were closing in. Monday morning, April 17th. I put on my suit like I'd been doing for 6 months. Kissed Sarah goodbye. Drove to the library. Sat in the parking lot with my phone in my hand and Diana's number on the screen. I had to tell Sarah. Diana was right. I couldn't keep doing this. But how? How do you tell your wife of 17 years that you've been lying to her every single day for 6 months? That you've depleted your savings, maxed out credit cards, and put your family's financial security in jeopardy because you were too proud to admit you'd been laid off? My phone rang. Emma's school. My heart jumped. Mr. Chen? This is Nurse Patterson at Lincoln High. Emma collapsed in gym class. We think it's dehydration, but we'd like someone to pick her up and take her to get checked out. I'll be right there, I said. I called Sarah, but she was in class and didn't answer. I was closer anyway. I drove to the school, picked up Emma, who looked pale and shaky, and took her to urgent care. The doctor checked her over. Blood pressure was low. She'd been feeling dizzy for a few days but hadn't mentioned it. They ran some tests. Wanted to do blood work to rule out anemia or other issues. Do you have insurance? The receptionist asked. Yes, I said automatically, then remembered. Our insurance from Innovatech had ended December 31st. I'd meant to get on Sarah's school district plan, but kept putting it off because that would require explaining why I needed to switch. We'd been uninsured for 3.5 months. Let me get the card, I said, stalling. I went to my car and sat there, phone in my shaking hands. This was it. The moment where the lies caught up with reality in a way I couldn't hide. Emma needed medical care. We had no insurance. I'd have to pay out of pocket or explain to Sarah why we'd lost coverage. I could put it on the credit card. Another $500 probably. Keep the lie going a little longer. Or I could walk back in there, call Sarah, and tell her everything. Right now. In the urgent care parking lot with our 14-year-old daughter waiting inside. I called Sarah. She answered on the second ring, her voice worried. Is Emma okay? She's going to be fine, I said. They think it's just dehydration and low blood pressure. But Sarah, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you 6 months ago. What? Michael, you're scaring me. I took a breath. 6 months of lies about to come out in a hospital parking lot. This wasn't how I'd planned it. But then again, I'd never really planned how to tell her at all. I don't work at Innovatech anymore, I said, the words finally out after 6 months of holding them in. I was laid off in October. I've been pretending to go to work every day since then. Our savings are gone. We're $13,000 in credit card debt, and we lost our health insurance 3 months ago. Silence on the other end. Long, terrible silence. Sarah? Come home, she said, her voice flat. Bring Emma home. We need to talk. She hung up. I sat in the car, feeling like I was going to throw up. It was done. The secret was out. And I had no idea what would happen next. I paid for Emma's urgent care visit on the credit card. $537. Drove her home. She knew something was wrong but didn't ask. Sarah met us at the door, face pale, eyes red. Go to your room, she told Emma gently. Rest. Dad and I need to talk. Emma went upstairs. Josh was at a friend's house. It was just us in the kitchen, where this should have happened 6 months ago. Start from the beginning, Sarah said. Her voice was shaking. Tell me everything. So I did. October 18th. The layoff. The severance. The library. The applications. The rejections. The depleted savings. The credit card debt. The fake work stories. The morning routine. All of it. 6 months of deception laid out in 30 minutes of painful confession. Sarah didn't interrupt. She just listened, her face going through emotions I couldn't read. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. You looked me in the eye every single day and lied to me, she finally said. Yes. You let me plan Christmas, Emma's birthday, Josh's trip, paid for things we couldn't afford, watched our savings disappear, and you said nothing. I thought I could fix it before you had to know, I said. I was trying to protect you. Protect me. Her voice rose. Michael, we're married. We're partners. You don't protect me by lying to me. You trust me with the truth, and we figure it out together. That's what marriage is. I know. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, she said. We have no savings. We're in debt. We have no insurance. What if something had been seriously wrong with Emma today? What if Josh or I get sick? What were you planning to do? I have a job offer, I said desperately. A good one. That's what I was going to tell you. Diana Rodriguez, she runs a consulting firm. She's offering me a position that could pay up to $120,000. I start in 2 weeks. We can fix this. You start in 2 weeks? Sarah repeated. What have you been doing for 6 months? Applying everywhere. I've sent out 300 applications. The job market is terrible, especially for someone my age in tech. I tried, Sarah. I really tried. She stood up from the table. I need time to process this. I need to think. I can't look at you right now. She went upstairs. I heard the bedroom door close. I sat at the kitchen table, the same table where I'd lied to her hundreds of times, and finally let myself cry. Emma came down an hour later. Dad? What's going on? Is Mom okay? I looked at my 14-year-old daughter and realized I owed her the truth too. I lost my job 6 months ago, I said. I didn't tell anyone. I've been pretending to work while trying to find something new. Mom's upset because I lied. She has every right to be. Emma sat down across from me. Why didn't you tell us? Because I was ashamed, I said. I thought if I could fix it quickly, you'd never have to know. But I was wrong. And now I've made everything worse. We would have understood, Emma said quietly. People lose jobs. It happens. We're not little kids, Dad. We can handle hard stuff. That made me cry harder. My 14-year-old daughter was more mature than I'd been. Sarah came downstairs after Josh got home. We told him together. He took it better than I expected, maybe because he was only 10 and didn't fully grasp what it meant. That night, Sarah and I lay in bed, 2 feet of space between us that felt like miles. I don't know if I can forgive this, she said into the darkness. I understand, I said. But we have to figure out the finances. We have to fix the immediate crisis. Then we'll deal with the trust issue. Okay. This job with Diana. Is it real? Or is this another story? It's real, I said. I can show you the offer letter. She's expecting me to start May 1st. Show me tomorrow, Sarah said. Show me everything. Bank statements, credit card bills, the offer letter, all of it. No more secrets. No more secrets, I agreed. We lay there in silence. I'd finally told the truth, but I had no idea if it was too late to save my marriage. The next morning, I showed Sarah everything. Sat at the kitchen table with the laptop open and went through every account, every statement, every credit card balance. The truth laid out in numbers she could see with her own eyes. Checking account, $942. Savings, 0. Credit card, 1, 4,800. Credit card 2, 5,200. Credit card 3, 3,100. Total debt, $13,100 at interest rates between 22 and 29%. Monthly expenses, $7,500. Sarah's income, $3,400 a month. Monthly deficit without my income, $4,100. How long until the credit cards max out? Sarah asked, her voice steady but cold. At our current burn rate, 6 weeks, I said. Maybe 7. She stared at the numbers. And this job with Diana starts May 1st? Yes. I pulled up the offer letter on my phone and showed her. Base salary $70,000, project bonuses potentially bringing it to $120,000 annually. First project starting immediately with a 3-month timeline and $28,000 success bonus. So if you successfully complete this first project, we'll have the bonus in August. Yes, plus my regular salary starting immediately. Between your income and mine, we'll be bringing in around $7,000 a month. We can stop using credit cards, start paying down debt. Sarah was quiet for a long time, studying the spreadsheet I'd created. We're going to have to make changes, she finally said. Real changes. No more eating out. No unnecessary purchases. Emma's braces we can keep because we've already committed, but Josh's soccer league might have to wait. We cancel streaming services we don't use. We sell things we don't need. We become a one-car family if we have to. Okay, I said. Whatever it takes. And we're getting on my insurance immediately. I don't care what we have to pay in premiums. We're not going uninsured again. Agreed. She closed the laptop and looked at me for the first time that morning. Her eyes were red from crying. I'm still angry with you. I don't know when I won't be. But we have 2 kids and bills to pay, so we're going to handle the practical stuff first. The marriage stuff, we'll deal with later. I understand, I said. Do you? Her voice cracked. Michael, you were my safe person. The one person I could count on to always tell me the truth. And you took that away. You made me doubt my own judgment. Every conversation we had for 6 months was built on lies. How am I supposed to trust anything you say now? I didn't have an answer. There wasn't one. Emma came downstairs then, ending the conversation. She looked between us, assessing the damage. Are you guys going to get divorced? No, Sarah said firmly. We're not. But we have a lot to work through. Dad made some really bad choices that affected all of us. We're going to fix the money problems first, then we'll work on fixing the trust problems. Emma nodded, accepting this. She was always the practical one. Are we poor now? We're not poor, Sarah said, but we're going to be very careful with money for a while. That means some changes, smaller birthday parties, no expensive extras, more family dinners at home. Can you live with that? Yeah, Emma said. I'm just glad we're not getting divorced. That broke something in me. My daughter's biggest fear after finding out I'd lied for 6 months was that her parents would split up. That's what I'd put on her shoulders. The next 2 weeks were strange. I prepared to start the new job while living in a house where Sarah barely spoke to me beyond logistical necessities. She moved into the guest room. I stayed in our bedroom. We told the kids we just needed some space while we worked things out. I met with Diana twice before my official start date to review the project I'd be taking on. A pharmaceutical company had a critical IT infrastructure upgrade that was 6 months behind schedule and $3 million over budget. My job was to assess why, restructure the approach, and get it back on track. High pressure, high visibility, high stakes. This is going to be intense, Diana warned. You'll be working long hours, dealing with defensive team members who resent outside consultants, and you'll have executives breathing down your neck. But if you pull it off, the bonus is guaranteed, and you'll have proven yourself. Future projects will follow. I can handle it, I said. And I needed to. Not just for the money, but to prove to myself that I was still competent. That the 6 months of unemployment hadn't been because I was worthless. May 1st, I started. The first day felt surreal. Walking into an office again after 6 months of libraries and parking lots. Having a desk, a computer, a purpose. But also the weight of knowing that my marriage was hanging by a thread, and my family's financial recovery depended on my success. The pharmaceutical project was a disaster, just as Diana had described. The project manager was defensive and territorial. The development team was burned out and resentful. The executives had unrealistic expectations. I spent the first week just trying to understand what had gone wrong and why. By week 2, I'd identified the core problems: poor requirements gathering, scope creep, inadequate change management, and a project manager who was technically skilled but terrible at stakeholder communication. I drafted a restructuring plan that would add 2 months to the timeline but would actually deliver a working product. The executives hated it. They wanted it done in the original timeline. I held my ground, explaining that their choice was 2 more months or a system that would fail on launch day. They reluctantly approved the extension. The project manager was reassigned. I brought in 2 additional team members. We restructured the approach, and slowly, painfully, things started to improve. At home, Things were harder. Sarah was civil, but distant. We'd have dinner together as a family, then she'd go to the guest room. Emma and Josh adapted to the new normal. No eating out meant Emma learned to make simple meals. Josh complained about not going to soccer camp, but accepted it. One night in late May, Emma asked me to help with her math homework. As we worked through the problems, she said quietly, "Dad, are you and Mom going to be okay?" "I hope so," I said honestly. "I hurt her really badly. It's going to take time." "She's been crying a lot," Emma said. "At night. I hear her sometimes." That gutted me. My lies had broken my wife so badly she was crying alone in the guest room. "I know I messed up," I said. "I'm trying to fix it." "You should tell her that," Emma said. "She needs to hear it." That night, I knocked on the guest room door. Sarah opened it, looking tired. "Can we talk?" I asked. She hesitated, then nodded. We sat on the edge of the bed, the same bed we'd bought when we first moved to this house 12 years ago. "I know sorry isn't enough," I said. "I know I destroyed your trust, and I have to earn it back. But I need you to know that I see what I did. I see how I hurt you, and Emma, and Josh. I was a coward. I was so terrified of looking like a failure that I became one in the way that actually mattered. I failed you. I failed our marriage." Sarah's eyes filled with tears. "You weren't a failure for losing your job." "You were a failure for not trusting me with it. I'm your wife, Michael. We've been together for 17 years. Did you really think I'd leave you because you got laid off?" "No," I admitted. "I was afraid you'd see me differently. That the kids would see me differently. I was the provider. That was my identity. Without the job, I didn't know who I was." "You're my husband," she said. "You're Emma and Josh's dad. You're a person with value beyond your job title. But you couldn't see that because you tied your whole self-worth to your career." She was right. I'd spent 16 years building my identity around being successful at work, and when that was taken away, I'd fallen apart. "I want to go to counseling," Sarah said. "Couples therapy. Because I want to save our marriage, but I can't do it without help. We need someone to guide us through this." "Okay," I said immediately. "Whatever you need. And I need you to be completely honest from now on. About everything. Money, feelings, struggles, all of it. No more protecting me from hard truths. Partnership means sharing the hard stuff." "I will," I promised. "No more secrets." We started couples therapy in June. Dr. Patricia Martinez was in her 60s, direct but compassionate. She didn't let me off easy. "You didn't just lie to your wife," she said in our third session. "You removed her agency. You made decisions that affected her life without giving her a voice. That's not protection. That's control disguised as care." That hit hard. But she was right. I'd been controlling the narrative, deciding what Sarah could handle, making myself the sole decision-maker. That wasn't partnership. The therapy was brutal. We talked about my childhood, how my parents had divorced when I was young because of financial stress, how I'd internalized that money problems destroyed marriages. We talked about Sarah's need for honesty, how her father had hidden a gambling problem that had nearly bankrupted her family when she was a teenager. My lies had triggered her deepest fear. But slowly, over weeks of hard conversations and homework assignments from Dr. Martinez, things started to shift. Sarah moved back into our bedroom in late June. We weren't fixed, but we were healing. The pharmaceutical project was progressing. We'd hit the June milestones. The system was working. The client executives were cautiously optimistic. I was working 60-hour weeks, but I came home every night and told Sarah exactly how the day went. Good and bad. When I was stressed, I said so. When I was worried about the project, I shared it. Complete transparency, even when it was uncomfortable. July brought the first real test. The project hit a major technical issue, an integration problem that would add cost and time. The client was furious. I had to present the problem and the solution to the executive team, knowing they could kill the project entirely. I told Sarah about it the night before the meeting. I'm terrified I'm going to blow this, I admitted. If they cancel the project, I don't get the bonus. We stay in debt longer. But you have the salary, Sarah pointed out. We're not going to lose everything if the bonus doesn't come through. We'll be okay. It'll just take longer. That perspective helped. The old me would have panicked alone. The new me could share the fear and find perspective. The presentation went well. I was honest about the problem, clear about the solution, and realistic about the timeline. They approved moving forward. The project would finish in August instead of July, but it would work. August 15th, the system launched. It worked. Not perfectly, there were minor bugs we'd fix in the following weeks, but it worked. The client was happy. Diana called me into her office the next day. "You did exactly what we hired you to do," she said. "The client is thrilled. Your project bonus is $28,000, deposited into your account today. And I have 3 more companies interested in having you consult on their failing projects. You're going to be busy. $28,000. I checked my phone in the parking lot. The deposit was there. Real money, earned honestly, that could start fixing the mess I'd created. I called Sarah immediately. The bonus came through. $28,000. I heard her breath catch. Really? It's real? It's real. It's in the account right now. She started crying. We're going to be okay. We're actually going to be okay. That night, we sat down with the finances, took the $28,000 and put $20,000 directly toward the credit cards, paid off 2 cards completely, brought the third down to a manageable balance, kept $8,000 as the emergency fund restart. For the first time in almost a year, we weren't drowning. We were treading water, at least. September brought a new routine. I took on a second project with Diana's firm, this one for a financial services company. Sarah and I continued therapy. Emma started high school. Josh went back to soccer, using money we'd saved from our careful budgeting. We were rebuilding, piece by piece. October 18th, exactly 1 year after my layoff, Sarah and I went out to dinner. A modest place, nothing fancy, but our first restaurant meal in months. 1 year, she said, raising her water glass. We survived. We did, I agreed. Barely. I'm proud of us, she said. Not for the way you handled the layoff. That was terrible. But for the way we've handled the recovery. You've been completely honest for 5 months now. You've worked hard. You've shown up in therapy even when it was uncomfortable. That's the man I married. That's who I needed you to be. I'm proud of you too, I said. You could have left. You had every right to, but you stayed and fought for us. I don't take that for granted. We weren't completely healed. Trust was still being rebuilt. But we were together, and we were honest, and that was enough. By December, 1 year and 2 months after the layoff, we'd paid off all the credit cards. Our savings had been rebuilt to $12,000. I'd completed 3 consulting projects successfully and had a 4th starting in January. My annual income was on track to hit $115,000, less than my old job, but sustainable. Emma had adjusted to our new normal. She was thriving in high school, had gotten a part-time job babysitting to earn her own spending money. Josh had made the travel soccer team. Sarah had gotten a small raise at school. We'd downsized in small ways, canceled subscriptions we didn't need, learned to cook more at home, took walks instead of going to movies. The changes had actually brought us closer as a family. Christmas that year was different from the previous one. Modest gifts, homemade cookies instead of expensive bakery ones, decorations we already owned. But it felt better, honest, real. I'm writing this in March of 2024, almost a year and a half after I finally told Sarah the truth. We're still in therapy, but less frequently now. Once a month instead of every week. The trauma of the deception has faded, though it hasn't disappeared. I've learned things about myself I didn't want to know. That I'm prideful. That I equate my value with my productivity. that I'd rather suffer alone than appear weak, that I was raised by a culture that says men provide and protect, and I internalized that so deeply that I nearly destroyed my family trying to live up to it. But I've also learned things about Sarah I'd forgotten, that she's stronger than I gave her credit for, that she's capable of forgiving the unforgivable if you're willing to do the work to earn it. That partnership means sharing the burden, not carrying it alone to prove you're strong enough. Emma told me recently that she's glad everything happened the way it did. Not the lying part, she clarified, but the part where we learned we could handle hard things as a family. Before, everything was always fine. Now I know that even when things aren't fine, we can figure it out together. Out of the mouths of 14-year-olds. Diana's firm has grown. She's brought on 2 more consultants and is considering making me a full partner. The work is challenging, but fulfilling. I'm helping companies solve problems, training the next generation of project managers, building something I'm proud of. The consulting work taught me something else too. Every failing project I walk into has the same core problem. People hiding the truth because they're afraid of looking bad. Team members who don't report issues because they don't want to seem incompetent. Managers who obscure problems because they're afraid of being blamed. The lies compound until the project is unfixable. The solution is always the same: radical honesty. Create a culture where people can admit problems early, before they become catastrophic. Reward transparency over the appearance of success. I was doing to my family exactly what I now help companies stop doing. Hiding problems, pretending everything was fine, letting the situation deteriorate because I was too proud to ask for help. If you're reading this and you're in a similar situation, if you've lost your job and haven't told your family, if you're pretending everything is fine while your world falls apart, please hear this. Tell them. Today. Right now. I promise you, the temporary pain of honesty is nothing compared to the permanent damage of prolonged deception. Your partner married you, not your job title. Your kids love you, not your income. Your worth as a person is not determined by your employment status, and the people who love you deserve the chance to support you through hard times. I spent 6 months lying because I was afraid of looking weak. In the process, I became exactly what I feared: a failure as a husband and father. The job loss didn't make me a failure. The lies did. It's been almost 18 months since I told Sarah the truth in that urgent care parking lot. 18 months of hard work, therapy, honest conversations, and rebuilding trust, brick by brick. Our marriage isn't perfect. We still have hard days. But it's real now, in a way it wasn't before. Last week, I got an email from my old boss Linda at Innovatech. The company had restructured again and was looking to bring back some former employees in consulting roles. Would I be interested? 2 years ago, I would have jumped at the chance. The validation of being wanted back. The proof that I was valuable after all. But I'm not that person anymore. I showed Sarah the email. We talked about it. Decided together that I was happy where I was. That the consulting work with Diana aligned better with our family priorities. That some chapters are meant to stay closed. That conversation, that decision we made together, that's what "then this happened" really means. Not the job offer from Diana, though that was the catalyst. Not the successful projects or the restored finances, though those matter. What happened was, I became honest. I became vulnerable. I became a real partner to my wife, instead of a provider playing a role. I became a father my kids could trust to tell them the truth, even when it's hard. I lost my job at 42. I hid it for 6 months. I nearly destroyed my marriage. I traumatized my kids. I made every mistake you could make. And then, when the truth finally came out in the worst possible way, something unexpected happened. My wife forgave me. My kids adapted. We rebuilt together. We became stronger, not despite the crisis, but because of how we chose to handle it once the lying stopped. The layoff didn't define me. The 6 months of deception don't define me. What defines me now is what I did after. I showed up. I told the truth. I did the work. I let my family see me struggle and supported them when they struggled too. If I could go back to October 18th, 2022, I'd do it all differently. I'd come home that day, sit Sarah down, and tell her what happened. We'd figure it out together. We'd adjust the budget immediately. We'd tap our savings strategically. We'd make it work because that's what partners do. But I can't go back. None of us can. We can only move forward with the wisdom we've earned through our mistakes. So here's my wisdom. Your job is not who you are. Your income is not your value. Your role as provider is not more important than your role as honest partner. And the people who love you are stronger than you think. Tell the truth. Do it scared. Do it ashamed. Do it knowing they might be angry. But do it. Because 18 months after I finally told the truth, I'm sitting in my home office, writing this story, with my wife asleep upstairs in our shared bedroom, my kids healthy and happy, my finances stable, my career fulfilling, and my marriage real in a way it never was when I was pretending to be perfect. I was laid off at 42. I couldn't tell my family. I lied for 6 months. And then, when the truth came out, something insane happened. We survived it. Together. Honestly. And we built something better than what we had before. That's what happened. And if you're in that dark place right now, hiding and scared and running out of time, I want you to know, you can survive this too. But only if you stop hiding and start trusting the people who love you. Tell them. Today. You'll be amazed what happens when you do.